Good morning, I'm Nikki Stimson, broadcasting to you from GBTA conference here in Brussels. And this morning I'm delighted to be joined by David McNeill from Entreprise Holdings. Good morning, David, how are you?
Good, yeah, enjoying conference.
Good to be back here, isn't it? And nice to be in Brussels.
And yesterday, Sustainability Summit was terrific. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Lots of good content. So talking about sustainability, obviously sustainability is becoming a critical, increasingly critical component of the travel programs. And how can car rental companies like Entreprise and National help customers achieve their sustainability goals?
Great question. So it's the top of mind for a lot of travel managers today, trying to wrestle that. We're here in Brussels, there's a lot of legislative pressure upon people to change the way they travel and to adopt better policies. So there are a few things people can do today. I think in our world, a lot of people think about sustainability. The first place they go is electric vehicles. We're growing our fleet of EVs and plug-in hybrids. There is a bit of a supply challenge and an infrastructure challenge. So it's not going to be, you're not going to see thousands and thousands of EVs on fleets tomorrow. We have them with dedicated fleets, and a lot of people for the first time are trying an EV through a rental company, interestingly enough. Yeah. But there are the really practical steps, and a lot of questions I've been hearing over the last few days, or a couple of days, is what can people do today? So the first thing I would say is a lot of business travel is still conducted by people on ground transportation, mileage reimbursement in their owned vehicle. The average age of which is somewhere between 8 and 10 years, depending on the European country. They're relatively high polluting cars compared to a rental fleet, which is the average age is probably around a year, 18 months old. So it's a really easy fix to move people away from that, put them into rental vehicles. They may be the latest petrol and diesel technology, as well as hybrids and EVs. So it's a really good practical step that people can help. But that's got to be policy driven.
Yes, yeah. Interesting. So what impact is the supply of vehicles having on the business travel industry, and how are you serving your customers with these challenges?
We've seen a bit of a perfect storm. So we've had, obviously people, it's well understood there's a supply chain challenge with, it's not just microchips, it's also wiring looms, a lot of which were built in Ukraine. Obviously that production has had to shift to other countries. It takes a while to ramp up the supply chain. That coupled with an enormous amount of demand that came back. Shortly after COVID hit, people still needed to travel. Rental car was a very good way of doing that. Yeah. And that demand has increased. So there's a few things we've been doing. Number one, we've been incredibly active in being fairly innovative in how we source vehicles. At Entreprise, we own 95% of the cars we have in our fleet. So it's up to us to decide how long to hold the cars. And the third thing that we've done is we've completely prioritized our business and corporate contracted customers at the expense of leisure, which is much more of a long-term view for us. Yeah. We would rather help enable business travel to get people back on the road. We've got a pretty diverse portfolio, but those are the steps that we've been taking to try and ensure that people get the cars that they need at the time they need them, and also the type of vehicle that they need, because if they're using their own vehicle, it might be a huge SUV. One person traveling doesn't need that. No. So it's about what's fit for purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any predominant trends that you're seeing in the business travel space, and how is that impacting your business and corporates?
Work from home has been massive and continues to be. And I think we've reached that tipping point where I think a lot of people have shifted from an office environment to a home environment. Yeah. So we're now having to serve communities in their communities, people who are traveling, they're not going from the office any longer, they're traveling from home. So they're having to rewrite travel programs to say, what does that look like? I go back to sort of the grey fleet scenario. But actually that's a great opportunity for people to trial an EV in their local community, to stop the mileage reimbursement thing, and also if you reshape travel policies, you can drive in huge economies of scale, because yesterday's commuters are now today's business travelers. So you've got to think about that also in conjunction with things like Scope 3. How do you measure the impact of your traveling community, traveling to work or traveling to the office for a meeting? Whereas before they may work there, now they just travel there for internal reasons and go home again. Yes. So it's been a modal shift in where people access vehicles, as opposed to simply thinking about, is it an airport pickup? Could it be a railway station? Could it be home city? So we've had to think about that and work with our customers and reshape travel policies really to adapt for that.
Absolutely. Interesting times, and thank you so much, David, for your insights today. This is Nikki Stimson at GBTA Europe Conference here in Brussels. Thank you for tuning in.